I want to show you an example of a really good ePortfolio so that you can get a sense of the kinds of digital artifacts that can be kept within an ePortfolio. This one is online, and it was made by a student named Savita Malik, who is in the Masters of Public Health program at San Francisco State University. Now, when you first go to the ePortfolio, you get to the introduction page, and it's a kind of welcome. She says, Namaste. And then she provides a little bit of background information. She says, in May 2007, I received my Master's of Public Health degree from San Francisco State University with the hopes that my work will allow me to create lasting change in individual lives as well as communities as a whole. This portfolio is a culmination of 3 years of work and struggle to understand public health in a broader social context. She goes on to say, closer to the bottom, my identity as a woman of color and as an educator deeply influenced my entire experience and continues to affect every aspect of my being. So you get a sense that right from the very beginning, this individual is making an ePortfolio that isn't a mere list of accomplishments, but rather it's a much more personal kind of document. Now, before we look at some of the categories that Savita has included in her ePortfolio, let's just take a look at the kind of general format of her ePortfolio. You'll see that she makes good use of photographs. She has a photograph over there on the right-hand side, and then just to the right of that is a quotation. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. So a kind of a quotation that epitomizes one of her philosophies towards her profession. Now, we also see here on the left-hand menu, the first item under the introduction is her professional mission statement, and she defines it. My mission as a public health professional encompasses 4 different aspects of my beliefs, and then she lists those different aspects one by one. Then, the next category is competencies in public health, and she says that there are students in the Masters in Public Health program are required to prepare a portfolio that includes evidence from academic classes, practice courses, and the internship and culminating experience project demonstrating their competence in community health education. So she's saying that she has to pull together from all of those different sources things or artifacts, accomplishments that demonstrate that she has achieved these core competencies in public health. She then goes on to say that there are 10 competencies, and they come from the Society for Public Health Education and from the American Association for Health Education, and then there's an 11th competency which has been added by the Health Education Department at her university. And she lists those organizations or agencies below so that if somebody wants to go and see those particular agencies and their competencies in detail, they can do so. Now let's go over here to one of the competencies that is listed, the community assessment. So it begins with a reflective statement, and then under that it's followed by practical experience. Her reflective statement, perhaps I'll just read a little bit of that. Within the next 10 years, there will be more individuals over the age of 65 than under the age of 18 in the United States for the first time in history. The changing face of the older adult population in this country lent itself to a community health assessment that looks at needs that are not currently being met within the senior center network. Yet so many of our target population still work full-time and prove to be inaccessible in many ways. So, in other words, her reflection upon this particular competency. And as I say, she talks about her practical experience. And then here, a subheading, she provides evidence of how she achieved this competency. She gives some background pertaining to the community assessment. Then she talks about methods, she talks about findings, and she talks about recommendations and next steps. She also provides relevant coursework that supports her achievement of those competencies. And she does basically the same thing very well, I think very effectively, with the other competencies. So with program planning, again, we start with a reflective statement, practical experience, and then again evidence of the competency, relevant coursework, and so on. So she does that with all of these: reflective statement, personal experience, and so on. Further down, the next category is the culminating Masters of Public Health project, and it is entitled The Domination of Fair Skin, Skin Whitening, Indian Women and Public Health. She gives background on this major project that she did. She talks about its purpose, key study questions, and describes the data collection. Then, at the very bottom, there is a link to the actual research paper that came out of her project. Now, she also talks about leadership skills here, and under that, she also lists professional presentations and papers, and she talks about the Public Health Organization of Graduate Students and her role on that organization. Further down, the next category, community-based experience, working with children in the San Francisco Bay Area. So she's talking about real-life practical experience. Next category, she gives a link to her actual resume, in other words, her paper-based CV in the traditional sense, and if we click on that, there's her actual traditional CV. Now, closer to the bottom of the categories, she provides information about San Francisco State University, more particularly the Masters of Public Health program, and if people want to learn more about it, she gives a link to the program mission, to innovative features of that program, and to the curriculum, and then finally down here she has a link to an online survey. So, all in all, I think this is a very effective ePortfolio. It is well designed. It provides lots of evidence of what has been achieved by the student. It also, perhaps more importantly, provides an indication or a demonstration of the kind of reflection that she has done upon all the various things in her life that contribute to her career within the field of public health. I think if every student were to do this in his or her academic program, the result would be deep and well integrated learning.